Well, look, let's move on now, of course, James. Big week, a big few weeks in the US. So let's go to that now, because a damning report has revealed the US Secret Service denied Donald Trump additional security for 2 years before last weekend's assassination attempt.
Yeah, the Secret Service denied requests for more agents at events he attended. And can you believe this? They refused a request for more snipers at outdoor events, snipers that might have come in handy last Saturday.
And Donald Trump told Fox News he would have delayed his speech had Secret Service told him that there was a suspicious individual on the loose.
Yeah.
No one told you not to take the stage?
No, nobody mentioned it. Nobody said there was a problem. And I would have waited for 15. They could have said, let's wait for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 minutes, something. Nobody said, I think that was a mistake. How did somebody get on that roof? And why wasn't he reported? Because people saw that he was on the roof. I mean, you had Trumpers screaming. A woman in the red shirt, she was screaming, there's a man on the roof. And then other people said, there's a man on the roof who's got a gun. And that was quite a bit before I walked onto the stage. So you would have thought somebody would have done something about it.
It's interesting, Donald Trump has been very gracious towards the Secret Service, thanking them at the convention recently. This is the first time he's really sort of alluded to the fact that, hey, there are questions to be answered here. There's two things that happen simultaneously that are really interesting to me. The first is that we had an increase in rhetoric that was always going to result in someone attempting an attack on Donald Trump. He's Hitler, he's a fascist, he's a threat to democracy. That rhetoric had been ramping up for months, if not for well over a year, making the likelihood of an attack increasing. At the same time, you've got a strangling of resources available to Donald Trump. So you have to start to ask the question, was this intentional negligence on the part of the Secret Service? And it's pretty hard not to wonder whether or not that's the case, because there are so many gaps in this thing. It's not just one or two. There are numerous gaps.
There are so many gaps. And as we know, there were multiple witnesses, and even more witnesses have come forward this week saying that they saw this individual, the shooter, walking around, looking suspicious, climbing up on top of that sloped roof, as we know all about now. So there is enough evidence to suggest that they were alerted. The Secret Service certainly knew. Now, at this point, we don't know if it was intentional, but you've certainly got to ask the question now. Donald Trump gave his speech to the Republican National Convention over the weekend, and you're right, he was quite gracious in what he said. He did thank the Secret Service. And we've all seen that image of Donald Trump at the end when he came up and he was like, fight, fight, fight. But Secret Service men and women have now come out saying that the Secret Service didn't even protect him in that moment. They should have shielded him. They should have kept him down. And there was just failures, James, from the start to the end, no matter how you look at it.
That they would have shielded him had they had some agents, taller than 5'3". In fact, let's talk about the Secret Service, because they might have been more focused on protecting Trump if they weren't so distracted by diversity, equity and inclusion initiatives. Since Director Kimberly Cheetle was appointed 2 years ago, the agency's focused on recruiting new agents at Pride events and held in-house seminars talking about correct pronoun usage.
I mean, extraordinary. And during a 2022 agency podcast, they boasted the Secret Service had managed to recruit more transgendered people as a result of their presence at Pride events around the country. I just find this totally and utterly inept, James.
I find it totally predictable.
Well, it is predictable. I mean, but
Sadly.
Also, are we surprised? Two parts. Are we surprised Kimberly Cheetle, the same woman who said that, it was just an oversight because there was a sloped roof. The guy was on a sloped roof. We didn't see him. Two, she is Dr. Jill Biden's #1 pick for the job, a.k.a. the woman who is actually running for the President of the United States right now. But during a 2022 agency podcast, the agency said, quote, that a pronoun seminar was needed to try and educate the workforce because some of this stuff, is cutting edge and new, and people may not be familiar with it. Well, look, We are talking, James, about life and death here. I don't care about if you are a they, them, a two-spirit, a gender florid. The enemies of the United States would be laughing at the Secret Service now because they would go, there are so many gaps in this agency because they are more focused on diversity and being friendly to each other and treading around the big issues as opposed to being, well, clearly, actually functional in high-stress situations.
So it's funny when you say the enemies of the US would be laughing at the Secret Service. I mean, they've been laughing at the military. They've been laughing at all sorts of things in the US. Yeah. But, I mean, you know, President Trump was almost killed. But don't worry about that. Look at how inclusive our Secret Service is. And look at how correct our language is. If correct pronouns stopped bullets, Donald Trump would be indestructible. But it's no surprise as well that Kimberly Cheetle is denying any responsibility. In fact, have you noticed, out of this, the language is that the Secret Service are the true victims here because they were just trying to do their job and now they're being unfairly maligned. And that's exactly what DEI does. It means that no one ever takes responsibility, no one is ever accountable, and the people who screw up then claim that somehow they are the victims. That's what this creates. And so it's an absolute nightmare. And the biggest problem is this is what's happened in the Secret Service, but we've got DEI through all aspects of society now, whether it's in your hospitals, whether it's in the police force. And so Trump is a victim, really, of DEI. But, you know, it's only a matter of time before we're all victims of this at some point.
Well, we are all victims at the moment, let's be honest.
Yeah. Well, if Donald Trump can survive an assassination's bullet, and he did, but at the end of the day, I'm not that sure he's going to be troubled by anything that is put upon him by the Secret Service deflecting responsibility or anything like that. He's just glad he's alive. In fact, here he is talking about how close he came to death just last Saturday.
As you already know, the assassin's bullet came within a quarter of an inch of taking my life. I started to, like this, turn to my right when I heard a loud whizzing sound and felt something hit me really, really hard on my right ear and moved my right hand to my ear, brought it down. My hand was covered with blood. I immediately knew it was very serious, that we were under attack.
Now, of course, Trump made that speech as he closed the Republican convention. And would you believe it, he is already back out on the campaign trail, firing up the troops.
They keep saying, he's a threat to democracy. I'm saying, what the hell did I do for democracy? Last week, I took a bullet for democracy.
He knows exactly what to say, James. He knows how to monopolise this whole situation. It is extraordinary that only 1 week ago from today, this is a man who almost died, was shot at. Within a few days, he's attending the Republican convention. He's making a massive speech, probably the biggest speech he'll ever have to make at this point in his career. And now he's back on the campaign trail. And I think it's quite interesting, the clear difference between Donald Trump and the Republicans right now compared to the Democrats under Joe Biden. It's really a tale of two sides. You've got one side unified, on fire, under Donald Trump. The other is in disarray with a leader trying desperately to cling on to power. The Democrats are running against Trump. Trump is running to make America great again. And he's really unmatched in his quest right now because Joe Biden can barely move up the stairs. So there's a real contrast right now. And I'll just make one more point. While the current president of the United States is out of action during COVID, the former president survives a bullet and is out there already at a campaign rally.
Yeah, Trump survives a bullet. Biden is battling with a sneeze. So you're right, the contrast is quite stark. The other thing that happened here is that Donald Trump proved his leadership. From the moment that bullet whizzed past his ear, he had the presence of mind to realise this is an historic moment and I've got an opportunity here to send a statement, not just to my supporters, but to the entire world, that if I become the leader again of the United States, don't mess with us because I'm sharp, I'm focused, I'm on the ball, and I will respond immediately. And from that moment, I mean, his appearance at the RNC, the way he spoke, he's back out on the campaign trail.
Yes.
Many others would be thinking, man, maybe I should be a bit more cautious. He had 14,000 people at his rally in Michigan overnight.
Huge figure.
Massive rally. That's an amazing thing for someone who's come within a whisker of death to be back out there. And remember, it's the same Secret Service who are protecting him right now. So it just displays incredible poise
It does.
and confidence on Trump's part.
I completely agree.